Hello, everyone. Forest Focus as Nottingham Forest complete their trilogy of games against Champions League rivals on Saturday. So can the Reds beat Manchester City and set themselves up for the final 10 games, or will it be another defeat to Pep Guardiola's team? Fantastically delivered intro there. Joining me to discuss all that and more, first of all, is Pete Blackburn. Morning, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Hoping it gets better from here on in.
Normally, if these are pre-recorded, I just hit start again. Which I don't know if Nathan does his podcast live, but that's what I would do. But we're live. No, so can't do that. Mikey Clarke, how are you?
Really good, thank you. I am on my phone today. We had a few problems with the microphone, so yeah, a bit of a shaky start from me too.
Yes, so apologies that we're a little late as normal. It was Mikey's mic was playing up. In fact, I couldn't hear Nathan either when he logged on, so it was a blind panic. I've said Nathan twice by introducing him. Copper Club's Nathan Joyce, how are you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. And still yet to do a live podcast. It's been about 2 years since launching the Copa Club podcast, and I still don't do a live podcast. Yeah, for obvious reasons. But yeah, I'm very well, thank you.
Good to have you back with us. Kick us off, Nathan, if you would. Then we're playing Manchester City, early kick-off on Saturday. How are you feeling about it?
I think every time you get me on this podcast, I sort of come on every 2 or 3 months and I bring a lot of negativity to the table. So the fact you started with me was a bold shout there. I'm really caught in two minds. You can turn around and say, look, what a privilege it is for Forest to be sat in third place with, 10, 11 games to go. And with welcoming Man City, who are below us, which still sounds mad and still struggling to get my head around that. But at the same time, I'm probably going to annoy listeners by going, it's a privilege to be in this position and playing in Man City, when others will be like, no, we deserve to be here and we should be looking to try and win the game. It's not like a third round FA Cup game. We're in League One going to Stamford Bridge all those years ago, where it was a privilege to play in these big games. We're now in it for Champions League purposes, which is mind-boggling. But there's something about Man City, and I think going forward they've picked up in recent weeks, and the fact that they have such a good record against us. I know we got that 1-1 draw a couple of years ago. We're at home, where we haven't lost since that Newcastle game, I believe. There's a lot in our favour, but it's still Man City, and just the way we've been playing at the moment in terms of 4 points from the last possible 15, if I'm right. 1 or 2 more defeats, and all of a sudden that Champions League dream comes a case of, look, let's hold on to Europa League, which I know is still brilliant in my eyes. I know there's a lot of fans who would just want Champions League because of where we are now. But it's a case of looking over our shoulders rather than looking ahead at the moment. And it all depends how the squad react to that. I think Saturday is a huge game. I mean, you don't need me to tell you that. But look, with 10, 11 games to go, it's at a point, if Forest want to get Champions League football, we have to win 2 or 3 massive games. And one of them could be on Saturday. So a sprinkle of negativity to start the podcast off with. But there's a possibility there.
I'm really torn when I think about it, because as we get into this, I'm sure we're all going to make a case, and it'll be a good case of why we can win the game. But then, I often think we can win these games and forget, like, it is Man City. They do tend to beat us almost every time. They do tend to beat us quite convincingly every time. So like Nathan, I'm quite torn on it. What about you, Pete?
I don't know if I should be reading out some helpline numbers or anything after this start to the podcast. I'm feeling pretty optimistic, and I guess the main reason for that is that I do actually see this game as a little bit of a one-off. We're obviously come to the end of this sort of tough run now of fixtures that we were coming into it, and we were very apprehensive about whether we'd get anything. At the end of that run, what I said before was I want to still be in this pack, still competitive in that group of teams that are competing for the Champions League. And if we can get to the end of that 4 or 5 game run in that sort of position, then it's been a great success. That's where we are. Granted, this is through the failures of others more than our own successes. It's been a really difficult spell, but it's a league. It's not a one-horse race. That's how it plays out, isn't it? I mean, for me, this City game, it feels like a bit of a free hit, and I know that's a strange thing to say about a game when you've got so few left, there's so much on the line. It's a home game, all that sort of stuff. But no one expects Forest to win against City still. We definitely can. I don't think there's any argument about that, and I think we'll talk about how it could happen. But really, my mindset right now is that I'm seeing the sort of following 10 games or whatever as a sort of reset and a mini league for us for the rest of the season, and that's really what's going to dictate where we end up. Those are the games where there's going to be a bit of pressure on us to get results, and those are the games I think that are going to tell us where we can really go this season. I mean, clearly, because it'll be the end of the season, but that's the business time for me. But yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic for a few reasons. I guess aside from that free hit side of things, I think we've had a bit of a turnaround. I don't think there's any doubt that we hit some pretty low performance levels in some of those games. Fulham I thought was pretty grim. Bournemouth in parts was pretty grim, and the scoreline was obviously very grim. Real struggle against Newcastle in that first half. Some iffy stuff at the end of that Southampton game. So no one should have that was. Those were some pretty low moments for us as a team, having set such high standards. But I think we have turned things around a little bit in this small sample size that we've had. Ipswich is, it's a cup game. Clearly, it's an odd one with two very different changed teams. But I think there's something to take about the character of the side getting through that one, and what you see at the end of the pitch with Nuno running on the pitch and the elation of players. I mean, that can only be a good thing, right? There's no doubt this is a bunch who are together and who've been characterised by that togetherness this season, I think. So nice to see that stuff, and an ending like that, for all the worries about fatigue and such like, surely that's only going to be a good thing in that togetherness and going into another game. And the Arsenal game, it felt like, as Nuno said, felt like we were getting a bit back to what we do best. It's a foundation to build some blocks on. We defended our box much better. We looked much more like a team that's going to be able to give a side like Man City a real run for their money and keep them out. And that's a building block. The last thing to do, I think, is we need to get back to a really efficient counter-attack. And I don't think you're going to ask later, I guess, about whether teams have worked us out. Personally, I think that a lot of the story is us not doing what we do best very well, to be honest. We've been really inefficient with the counter-attack, really sloppy in those moments of possession where we turn over the ball and then need to move up the pitch quickly. And I think we can hopefully change that. We've got the players to do it. We're seeing little bits and bobs. And I think, like I say, feels like a bit of a free hit, but an opportunity to try and get back to what we do best.
Let me just introduce a few. We've got a few charts to go through that put some context around things. As Rafik says in the chat, Man City have improved in terms of results and performances. They were pretty handsomely beaten in the games that they lost: Liverpool, Arsenal, and Real Madrid in the Champions League. So they're definitely still vulnerable. But I've got some last 6 games data for both teams. This is from FPL Black Box that Mark sent me. So check out Black Box if you haven't already. It's very insightful for FPL and non-FPL. This is team data defense for people who are listening or watching. Last 6 matches, we've been in the top 3, 4, 5 of this all season. We've slid down to 12th of late. Man City aren't exactly great either. I mean, they're good, but not great. They're 7th. Interestingly, Ipswich and Man United, who are our next 2 opponents after this, are 17th and 18th, respectively. And if I put attacking data up as well, now we've been kind of 14th in this all season, that kind of bracket. We've moved up to 8th. Man City are 3rd. So I think they've markedly improved in attack since bringing in Marmoush, and Gonzalez has given them some better foundations. And again, I'll just point out Man United and Ipswich are 17th and 18th again in that. So there's a lot to look forward to after this game. But just in general, that's how City have shaped up. And we might have got better in attack, but we've definitely had some fallibility in defence. How do you feel, Mikey, when you bear in mind all that around Man City and around us? How, more specifically on Man City, how are you viewing them as opponents in this one?
Yeah, so I am really looking forward to the game on Saturday. I think I said before the Arsenal game that if we were to win that, then we needed to get back, as Pete was saying, to what we do well. And we'll probably win that 1-0, if at all. And the game transpired exactly the way I thought it would. We were sharper in the tackle. We were winning duels. We defended our box, as Pete says, fantastically. And we tried to nick it on the counter. And I expect something very, very similar on Saturday against Man City. There's no doubt that this City team are not the City team that they've been in recent years. However, they're still bloody good. They're still really, really good. That chart you just put up there, Matt, suggests that they have taken a step up since their January recruitment. No wonder. They spent an absolute fortune. So bringing in players like Marmoush and Gonzalez is only going to make them better. Their attack is not blunt, unlike Arsenal's. So I do feel that we will probably need to score to get something out of the game on Saturday. But as the guys were saying, this is great. This is dreamland. We've sat on this podcast for years and looked over our shoulder, talked about, are we going down? who have Luton got? All those conversations. This is a completely different world we're living in right now. And should things not go for us on Saturday, it's not the end of the world, because we then go into the championship rounds. Last 10 games, I think we need to win 4 or 5 of them to get into those top European places. And we're very, very capable of doing that. You pinpointed our next, after Man City, the 2 opponents we've got, and they're both struggling. So all is not lost, and we should be absolutely embracing this as a fan base and as a city, which I think we all are. And let's have a go at them, because, like I said, if we can take the lead, we are purpose-built to hit them on the counter, and they are fallible at the back. So I'm expecting a bit more of a bit better game than it was against Arsenal. It was turgid at times, yes it was, but it's exactly what we needed, I walked away from that ground thinking, excellent. That was much better from Forest, far more aggressive in the tackle. And that's what we're going to need against Man City, because they've got some wonderful football players. But it's another day. It's going to be good weather. It's just another day we're going to enjoy, and let's hope we come on the right side of it. But nothing to fear whatsoever. We managed to get something against Man City in our first season where we were really struggling, and we're very good at home. Last time we lost at home was November? So on the flip side, they're going to be looking at it thinking, oh God, Forest. Oh, they're nasty. We need to be on our game here. And it all marks for what I think is going to be a great occasion on Saturday. So, Matt, I'm really looking forward to it. I think we can get something.
That's good. That wasn't the question I asked at all. That's okay. I realised as you were talking, we've got the 3 people who give the longest answers on the whole, every contributor on the podcast. It'd be interesting how this pans out. I'll have a quiet day anyway. Morning to Anna from the hairdressers. Good to have you with us. £100 for a haircut. I think I paid 13 and thought that was steep. So yeah, good to have you with us, Anna, live from the hairdressers. Let's talk about that counter-attacking notion then. I'm trying to think of games, Nathan, where we've really hit teams on the break of late, and we haven't, I can think of, for a variety of reasons. One being Ipswich really sat in, but I don't know if other teams did too much, or have they worked us out, do you think, of how to limit these counter-attacks, or is it, as Pete says, we've been sloppy? Where's the land lie there with that notion?
I agree with Pete in terms of we've been a bit sloppier, but we can't expect to go 38 games with the one tactic and get Champions League football. Clubs have to be more diverse, whether that's a sprinkle of luck or a shift in tactics. I think it's maybe a combination of all of those particular topics. But yeah, I agree with Pete in short that it has been a bit sloppier of late. We have gone through a bad periods, I think mainly because you can look at the attacking side of it, but I just think the amount of chances, look at that graph you showed there, the amount of chances we've been conceding, like we've been so much more sloppier across the field. I think that has an effect on your whole game plan, like from back to front anyway. So sloppier going forward, but we've been sloppier at the back as well and in the middle. So I think it's all been a combination as to why it hasn't been working for us in recent weeks. But there's no reason why we can't get back on top against Man City. I think Mikey pointed out against Arsenal, we were a lot more resilient, went back to basics. And if we look a little bit further down the line, and sorry if I'm jumping the gun here a little bit, Matt, like Mikey did, but a lot of goals Man City have conceded of late. I went back through like their last 10 and we had to stop at Arsenal because they conceded 5 against them. But at least 60% of their goals were down the right wing on their channel. So like that opens the door for Hudson-Odoi or Alanga, depending on if Nuno wants to rotate between those two. But it'd be really interesting for me to see who sits in that sort of left centre mid role with Man City, because Gvardiol has been all over the shop of late. I really rate him. I think going forward, he's really strong for Man City. But if you look at the last few games, even the games where Man City didn't concede, even the Spurs game, for example, and the Newcastle games where they won 1-0, 4-0, they were poured all over the back in that left side. And teams like Liverpool obviously beat them 2-0. And obviously, Shock Salah did his work down there playing before Szoboszlai scored his second goal there. But for me, that's the gap where Forest can really take advantage. So yes, Forest have been sloppy of late. But looking at the way in which Man City have operated over the last 4 or 5 games, the goals they've conceded or the chances they've conceded, it's all been down that right flank. So for me, Forest can almost forget about what's happened if they can just sharpen up in front of goal. Hudson-Odoi should have a field day against Gvardiol.
Excuse me, that'll lead into our lineups quite nicely, I think. So we'll go into those next. Just before we do, reminder that the game is the early kickoff. So the Trent Navigation is open from 9 a.m. You can get breakfast from that early hour. And then Fothers, our own Simon Fotheringham, will provide the pre-match entertainment. You can watch the game at the Nav if you're not lucky enough to have a ticket. And then post-match, there's free entry to the post-match show with the Fun Boy 2, and you can get your lunch there as well. So you don't really need to leave the Nav at all unless you've got a ticket for the game. So do enjoy Saturday down there. Right, let's do lineups then, and it will lead into what Nathan was discussing, and I'm sure the other chaps will weigh in as well. Let's start with Pete and Mikey submitted the same team, so we'll start with that one, and I shall read it out, and then we'll chat around it. So it's unchanged from the Arsenal game. Sells in goal, Aina, Milenkovic, Murillo, Williams, Dominguez, and Anderson in midfield. Hudson-Odoi, Gibbs-White, and Hudson-Odoi. I've done a good job on my graphic there. Hudson-Odoi is so good he's playing twice.
It would be nice to be
one of those wings is Anthony Elanga, and then Chris Wood up front. I think I actually did do the right graphic at some point, and I've been messing around with it. But yeah, that's unchanged, obviously. I'm going to take that off the screen, and then we'll pretend that never happened. Pete, talk us around why you're unchanged.
I spent a little bit of time wondering about how we could counter the various threats that this City team poses. I think they're sort of fairly obvious. There's not going to be an awful lot of insight here. You know, they've got the best striker in the league up top. They've got a guy fresh into the team behind him who has hit the ground running, and Omar Marmoush looks like a real bright spark. Obviously, he's had a nice run of goals as well. He's certainly contributing. The wide men, I think, Savinho and Doku have probably been City's brightest players across the season, aside from Haaland, and admittedly not a particularly crowded field. Both very, very direct and threatening. But City have clear weaknesses, don't they? And you look across that back line, and I think there are all of those players in that back line who are likely to play. If we assume it's going to be, say, Nunes and Guardiola in those fullback positions, and perhaps Diaz and Kusanov or whatever, I think even Diaz is having a pretty rough season of it, from what I've seen. And it just made me think, maybe this is one of those games where, coupled with that sort of free hit feeling I've got about it, we don't need to be thinking too much about how we can counter all of those threats, and really we need to maximise what we can do. So that's sort of where I've landed at it, and I think that team that I've picked is our best 11. I think there are other things that you could have done. I would have considered whether maybe bringing in Yates for Dominguez gives you a little bit more grit or something. But I think Dominguez had a bit of a rough rap of it recently, and I don't think he's been at his best. But actually, he is contributing. I think it was mentioned by a few people on here after the Arsenal game that he was the best tackler on the pitch and such like. So I think it's the best lineup. And the thing is, if you start making compromises to deal with their threats, for example, I was thinking about maybe Elliot Anderson's an option in a wide position to give you an extra body who can tuck in, track that runner of the fullback who's going to get high at the pitch and invert or whatever, and come and give you bodies. But as soon as we start making those compromises, we lose what makes us us. And without the two wide men, I don't really see us being able to hurt them in the way that we should be able to, that we can. I think the key here is go strong from the start and try and find those opportunities for the wide men to cause problems in those areas of space that are going to be left behind as potentially both fullbacks get high at the pitch and or invert. I think that's going to be the clear game plan for us. And once we're up, if we can get into that position, then it's a case of doing what we've done so well in the first half and 2/3 of the season, and sitting in and defending for our lives. I mean, it is a risk because we've seen this Forest side get overrun through the middle of the park, but there is no formation or system that we can pick that isn't a risk against Man City one way or another. And that's how I see it, to be honest. I think it's going to be a case of every player in that back four, the two centre halves, Gibbs-White dropping a little deeper, the wingers tracking their man. They're all going to have to be absolutely on it, communicating, not flat-footed, not reactive, but really proactive and doing their jobs to the best of their abilities. And that's what we saw from Forest in the first 2/3 of the season or whatever it was. So it can be done, and I think we need to keep our threats on the pitch.
I rather prematurely there. I don't know why I did that. Put up the team that Pete potentially mentioned with Anderson in midfield. So I won't read it out. It's the only difference is you'd have Dominguez and Yates in midfield. It could be Sangare, it could be Danilo, but I put those two there. And you'd have Anderson playing ostensibly wide left. It's more the formation we finished against Arsenal, which is an option, Mikey, because the tactics that I think we've all gone for, it could be a bit of a shootout. It could be a bit of an un-Forest game where, we could be 3-0 up, or we could very easily be 3-0 down as well. So how concerned are you about playing both wingers and not doing this sort of Anderson, box midfield type team?
Well, this is really a day to remember, because me and Pete agreeing on team selection and the reasoning behind it is astonishing. So Pete's absolutely nailed it. They were exactly my thoughts. So the way we're going to win this game is when their fullbacks invert and we hit them on the counter in the spacing behind. So the graphic you've just put up, Matt, about Anderson on one of the sides is a potential for us to go to late in the game, which is obviously what we did against Arsenal. These games are often decided in the last 30 minutes. So if you cast your mind back to Arsenal, when we brought Yatesy on, we looked a lot better. We took Elanga off, put Anderson wide. We shut them down. It's going to be a bit of a tactical chess match, this. But again, I agree with Pete. I think we start with arguably our best team. Now, this debates around Dominguez. I'm not completely sold, but I think him not even setting foot on the pitch midweek suggests to me that he's going to start. And I expect him to. So I think we go that way. And then I think we just see how the game progresses. In 60 minutes, I do expect to see Yatesy come on. I do expect, if the game's really tight, for us to maybe think, would a point be good? Of course it would. Anything against these top echelon teams, I think, is a good result. And if we end the week undefeated from games against Arsenal and Man City, that's only a good thing. So start positive. Start with your two wingers. Try and get in front, try and score that goal. But like Nathan quite rightly said a minute ago, there are so many ways to win a football match and so many ways to win to see a game out. And, we have those options to do that. And Man City's firepower from the bench, and Pep's not necessarily want to use his bench a lot, but when he does, those players that he brings on are frightening. So we've got to be absolutely switched on the entire game. But I think we start with our best team, which is arguably what Pete and I said. But yeah, it should be a good game.
Just to add, Matt, Mikey makes a really good point at the end there. I mean, the bench. I think the 5 players that came on for City against Arsenal were Grealish, Foden, Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, McAtee. So I mean, it's an entire change of that middle of the park, which also makes it slightly difficult for us to plan for what's actually going to happen in the game, because several of those could play and present pretty different threats, I guess. But it makes a fine point that that could change things pretty massively, and we'll have to be able to react.
Let me put Nathan's team up again. Very similar. It would be the same as everyone else, except so I've managed to not load a winger here, and I've put Ryan Yates in for Nico Dominguez. We'll talk about the midfield a little bit, but just your general thoughts, Nathan.
Yeah, I was waiting for Pete to get at me there for dropping Dominguez once again. And look, I'm Dominguez's biggest fan. I think it's a toss of a coin between him and Yates. I don't think I'm at this stage of the season with how both are performing. I think Dominguez is a little bit of a scapegoat with fans. But I'm looking at that first 20 minutes, 25 minutes, because if we look at the Man City game where they comfortably beat us at the Etihad when they were going through a horrendous patch, is because we showed them too much respect. And the one person I thought who wouldn't show Man City any respect in that first 20, 25 minutes is Ryan Yates. And I think he's going to be more influential in that first 45 minutes rather than potentially looking to hold on to any points in the 60th minute. I think we can't be that sort of presumptuous that we're going to be in that situation. So for me, I'd probably want to have a more creative player to potentially bring on in that last half an hour. And I know Yates has been coming in with a couple of goals of late. It's a toss of a coin. You could argue either way. I completely agree with Pete and Mikey and what they said. Like, I would not be offended at all if Dominguez was to start. But for me, Hudson-Odoi, Elanga have to start at this game. I completely agree with what Pete said. If you change too much, you're just going to sort of let City take control of the game from the first minute. So play to your strengths, keep them there, have players that you'd want. Man City's fullbacks have been obviously their Achilles heel. So give them something to think about from that first minute. I think that's really important. So keep Hudson-Odoi and Elanga wide, look for them on the counter, but keep them a little bit pinned back as well. If we look at Man City and the goals they've conceded, yes, they've been very weak on that right-hand side, as I've said. And this isn't Forest's game necessarily, but they've conceded so many goals from the opposition, taking the game to them, high press. When Arsenal beat them 5-1, and I know it's maybe a completely different game, but Arsenal scored 2 or 3 goals from high press and making mistakes against Man City's back line as well. So if Forest starts strong and they're confident, like there's no reason why we can't nick a bad play, because it's been very unlike Man City this season. A lot of times, it's not just been a one-off that they've tried to play it out the back, but not looked convincing. So for me, if you've got more attacking players there from the beginning, rather than Elliot Anderson, who probably would lean to be more defensive or come inside, keep that width, put the pressure on, and hopefully Yates just hits somebody hard in that first 20-25 minutes, and then you've got Dominguez to replace him if it's not going well. That was my reading of the game, but I'm not upset with if Dominguez starts at all.
Word from Dominguez's camp after last time Nathan was on was that he was prepared to forgive him just one time, but that's the second time he's thrown him under the bus now. I think that could be a tough relationship now.
Trust me, as soon as I sent that team to Matt last night, I was just like, yeah, Pete's going to say something here. But look, I'm his biggest fan, but obviously, clearly, I want him to work harder to get back into that 11.
Yeah, I'll just put Pat's comments up because Pat's really adamant, and I think a lot of people will be about 4-2-3-1 being suicidal against City, the way they move the ball. I do agree to quite a large extent, but this isn't quite the City that we've seen. I think is attack the best form of defence in this game? Do you think, Pete, or not?
I think it absolutely is. I mean, I understand the point that Pat's making and has been making in these comments the last few times that I've been on and we've been having these conversations. And I agree with the analysis that we have been overrun by dynamic teams who've been able to get lots of bodies through the centre of the pitch and have been able to progress the ball rapidly and are very athletic in those areas. I'm not desperately convinced that City are quite the same profile of some of those other teams who've really hurt us. Certainly, if you look at the 2 centre mids who are likely to play, I don't think they're quite the same sort. You know, when we play against Newcastle, I'm terribly worried about like a Joe Linton, for example, because it's that sort of real strength and athleticism when you have so many bodies in those areas that really hurts us. I think the really important thing to say is that writing down a 4-2-3-1 on a piece of paper doesn't mean that the players stand in those positions during the game. Really, it's much more important how they work together and how they react to what the opposition are doing. But we've seen so many times, haven't we, when Nuno's tweaked things slightly at half-time without changing the shape, where you might just have a Gibbs White dropping deeper, or I think it was the Leicester away game, wasn't it, where there was the talk after the game about, you know, at half-time we said, I think was it Hudson-Odoi had to come in narrower and give us a little bit more of covering those central areas because Harry Winks and whoever else was dominating and such like. So I don't think it's as simple as formation equals good or bad, and really it's about how you play within that structure. I mean, the difference between the 4-2-3-1 and us playing a 4-3-3 is negligible in a game if Gibbs White drops a little bit deeper, for example, or it could be that the wingers are tucking in. But you know, it changes pretty rapidly, and I don't think it's the case that the formation itself is going to be a reason why we can't cope with Man City. I think the key here is that our teams are all taking a big risk. I think there's no way to pick a team against a team like City that isn't a risk one way or another. You're going to have to make a compromise. The risk, as I see it, is that I'm asking both fullbacks to do one-on-one jobs against 2 really sharp, dangerous wingers who are having good seasons, form players in a side that's had a difficult time, and then also asking probably Milenkovic to do a job on arguably the best striker in world football. And I'm asking Murillo to track Omar Marmoush, who's having a rich vein of form and is, you know, incredibly impressive. These guys are all going to be doing one-on-one jobs. They're going to be desperately needing the help of those central midfielders and other players across the pitch. And it's hard, isn't it? You know, ideally you want a bit more strength in numbers to deal with a team like that. But as we said, I think the compromise of losing one of those wide men, which is so clearly going to be our threat, it worries me. So I think we have to try and focus on what we can do best. And if we can be the Forest of, say, the first half of the season that defends that box for their absolute lives and that communicates and that passes men on and that they don't make those defensive mistakes. How many times on this podcast did we talk about this being a Forest side that just didn't make those mistakes? Didn't lose a man in the box, didn't give any opportunities, any good quality opportunities. That's what we've got to get back to, because doing that allows us to have our threat. And that's the unique selling point of this team, isn't it? That's what got us to where we are in the league. So I'm being optimistic about hoping that we can get back to that. But maybe the case is, form's not great and we have to react and we have to change the way we line up. That could be the case. I'm not saying I'm right about that. I'm just saying that's where I'd land.
Yeah, partly I think we've reverted to the mean a little bit, but we had 11 players overperforming, and that's not going to continue all season. But I still think we've got every chance of winning this game and getting in the Champions League, although it might be a little bit of a crawl over the line and scrape over against Chelsea. God, that'll be tense, but we'll get to that another day. You've won Pat over Pete anyway, so drop Gibbs White in and you cracked it. Going back to midfield, we've all spoken about Sangare and Danilo at length. No one really mentioned them in the chat. I feel a bit for Danilo because it's very easy to forget he's come back from this very long injury, and I kind of feel like any minutes from him, significant minutes, are a bit of a bonus this season. Where are you at on Danilo and Sangare, Nathan? Because I don't think you've spoken about them this season much.
No, Danilo is quality, strong player. You think about how everyone was so excited about him coming into the season, and you can't say like an injury like that has taken a knock on his confidence. And in a weird sort of way, if Forest were like 10th or 12th, it'd be the perfect time for him to sort of bed him back in and get his confidence back up. But we're at that point where every point is crucial at the moment, so we can't afford to take those risks. And you can't blame the player for having a mindset like that when it comes to potentially certain tackles. I know there's been a lot of debate on Twitter where some stats favour him, the naked eye sometimes doesn't. But we have noticed him sort of hesitate a little bit. But as we've seen with Danilo, when we first brought him in a couple of seasons ago, when he gets a run in the team, he's quality. He's so good for us. When he plays little patches of minutes here and there, it does take him time to bed back into the team. But unfortunately, we're not in a situation where we can afford to give him 4, 5, 6 games, hoping that he can play as well as he did when he first came in those 2 seasons ago. So look, I'm a huge Danilo fan. I think there's definitely a place in the squad for him. I think next season he can be a huge player for us again, get another pre-season, get his confidence back up. And look, you need to have, especially if we go to Europe, Christ, we need to have a big capable squad which we can rotate. And I think Danilo can be at the heart of that. Such a shame about his injury, because I think we would have been talking about his praises all season long, and he probably would have been in that starting 11. I have no doubts about that. Sangare is a really interesting one, isn't he? People either love him or hate him, and he seems to be another scapegoat within the team. I like him, but think about all the problems he's gone through as well. And he's in a sort of similar situation to Danilo, where he just needs regular time, regular minutes. But Forest are in a privileged situation where we can't really afford to do that with him as well. So until another centre mid goes out injured long term, which hopefully doesn't happen, or we have some 2 or 3 losses on the bounce where everything goes all Pete Tong, then there's not going to be a place for him. So, but that doesn't mean that he's not going to be in the Forest team next season and we should be getting rid of them. I think both are very good players, very different style of players, which is great to have going forward. But at the moment, with Forest situation, it's just a shame that they will have to be the players who miss out.
Yeah, I think that's a good assessment. I don't think we should be writing any player off in this squad at all. And, the pitch is always a very fluid one. Form changes very quickly. So, yeah, I agree with Nathan very much on that. Right, there's one more thing I want to talk about around this game, but just before we do that, a word for NordVPN, and we'll see you in 90 seconds. Thanks NordVPN for sponsoring this episode. You've probably heard of NordVPN before without looking into what they do, so I will try and tell you about them in my own unique style. Basically, it's a way to maintain your privacy online, protect your data, and give security on public networks. It's also a great way of changing your location to be anywhere in the world online. So Mark Southerns, you might wonder why he is with me. He is an avid user of NordVPN, and he can tell you a little bit more about how he uses it as an international jet-setting man of mystery.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I got into NordVPN about 6 months ago, and I just subscribe now regularly. I think I buy the annual deal They do have a 30-day money back guarantee, which kind of attracted me originally, but I never took that up because I found it very useful. Use it when I'm abroad. I get to travel a bit, so when I'm out in Sofia and I want to watch the live games, I can use it to access the live games when I'm abroad, which is very, very useful. Also, I've got it on all my devices, my phone and my iPad, and just have it on all the time, and that's very useful when myself or the kids are using those devices on public networks, like in coffee shops and stuff, which they do a lot. So gives me peace of mind in that kind of situation, and just all round very, very useful.
You've got 24/7 support. You've got a 30-day money back guarantee. So if it's not working out for you, you can get your money back and it's cost you nothing. On top of that, you can get an exclusive discount on a new plan by going to nordvpn.com/Forest Focus. Pete actually loves these ads. He bloody loves them, doesn't he?
Sorry, I can't listen to that one. Since I spotted the moment when Mark says, I got into NordVPN 6 months ago, it sounds so much like the start of his first speech at like an AA meeting or something. I can't listen to it. I have to just pretend it's not happening.
I'll refer that feedback. I also enjoy your feedback on my ad read for Better Health, which I haven't listened to yet. I can't bring myself to.
If anyone, I mean, I don't know if that's only on audio platforms.
It's only on audio. It's only on audio.
Oh wow! I'd recommend listening to yesterday's podcast only for the BetterHelp advert at the very start, which is phenomenal. It sounds like Matt's doing a sort of ransom phone call to the parents of a child he's kidnapped. It's insane.
You could also listen to yesterday's podcast for some insightful chat with Henry Winter as
well.
well.
Yeah, the podcast's fine, but the adverts are, really what makes it.
Absolutely. Right, one last thing on the game I want to discuss very quickly is around our defending of corners. Spotted this analysis from WT Analysis on Twitter, WT_analysis. No, hide that quickly. That's for the quiz later.
I missed that.
If you've got photographic memory, either of you three, then your quid's in there. Right. This is our defending of corners, and it just highlights defending corners from the back post. I'll talk through it if people are listening or watching. Red dots are where we've lost the first contact. So green dots where we've won it. You can see from this graphic, we're really solid defending the centre of our box. The near post as well is pretty good. But the back stick, especially from corners from the left taken by right footers, in swingers, a la Ipswich, that goal, there's a lot of red dots on that screen. So we have got slight issue there. Any concerns there, Mikey, or is it the case that you can't defend every area of the box perfectly? How do you view that?
Yeah, I'd love to see how it compares against other teams. I'd be more concerned if it was the other way around, like we were losing free headers in our box, which we were the previous season. That was absolutely awful. I will say this WT Analysis, I read all this stuff they put on there. It's really good, that. If you don't follow it, you should do on Twitter. It's some incredible stuff on there. But it's kind of what I expect. We had a problem protecting cells, didn't we? So there's an extra body in there. We usually put at least one man on the post. Like I said, I'd rather win more headers in there. I think it's also down to the personnel as well. So we all know, because we all see it, but Milankovic makes such a difference when he's in there. He didn't play midweek. We're letting a goal from a corner. Is it linked? Don't know, probably. But what I do know is when he's in there, he's the one that's organising. He's the one that's winning the majority of those first headers. And if not, he's screaming at somebody to do as much. There's always areas where we can improve on a football pitch. Set pieces are no different. So I really, without wanting to comment, I really want to see how that compares to other teams. But that gives me a lot more comfort, because you tend to score your free header from the centre of the pitch, don't you? If it goes to the back stick, they can nod it back across, of course. But I think you'll see a fundamental difference this week with Milankovic back in the team anyway. And I'd love to see how that compares to last season. So, yeah, it's like anything. We can, Pete spoke about trying to negate Man City's weapons. And to do that, you need 12 or 13 players. and it's the same for defending set pieces. To win everything in the entire 18-yard box, you probably need about 13, 14 players. So there are areas where we can improve, the near post, of course, but it doesn't worry me a lot, because we're still one of the better teams defending set pieces in this league. And the jump that we've made from last season is fundamental, and Milankovic is back. So I'm not overly worried. Imagine saying that, Matt. We'll probably let it go all the weekend from set piece, and I'll be here next week going, "Oh, we need to figure it out." But no, that's kind of what I'd expect to see.
Either of you other two chaps got anything you want to add on the game before we move on to the quiz that I almost spoiled?
I'll just add a negative comment. I started with one, didn't I? I would just say that just going through Man City's games, like they've improved massively from corners. Yes, only scored a couple, but they've looked incredibly threatening. They've been sort of aiming for the back post and been rather effective with it in catching teams out. So yeah, I think it's all well and good having Milenkovic in the middle, and I agree with Mikey. He made such a difference. And his last comment about how poor we were last season, I've tried to almost block that out. But it would be such a shame for Forest to concede a goal like from a corner against Man City, because obviously if they can score in open play 9 times out of 10, you can be like fair play. But they have massively improved in the last few weeks from attacking set pieces, so it would be a cause for concern, and I expect them to be adopting the same tactics in terms of hitting that back post on Saturday.
Excellent analysis. Not quite the ray of sunshine today, now.
You know what you get with me. You know what you get with me.
Right. We did a quiz last week. We'll do a quiz this week. Starting 11s, you each have to name a player who started said game from either team. So it's a classic Man City Forest game. And I'm not going too far back in the archives because that would be tough. It is Forest 1, Man City 1, 18th of February 2023. So you all remember the game, first season in the Premier League. You get a point for naming anyone who started the game, and I'll include City players in that as well because it's quite recent. If you name a sub, then you have to guess again, and you've got 2 lives. So if you get it wrong twice, then you're out. Pretty straightforward, hopefully. We shall start with, we'll do alphabetically. Mikey, you want to kick us off with anyone who started that game?
So any player who started the game? Well,
either team.
I think Joe Worrell started.
He did. That's one for you. Nathan?
I'm going to start risky. Was Keylor Navas in goal?
Keylor Navas was in goal. Very nice. Pete Blackburn?
I really hope I'm thinking about the right game because I think it's quite a specific team. If I am, I think Colback played.
He did. Colback did play. Very nice. You're going for the offbeat one straight away. So
I wanted confirmation that I was talking about the right team, so that's helped me out.
That is the right game. Mikey?
Yeah, I think he played every midfielder under the sun, didn't he? So Danilo out there for.
Yep, Danilo started that one. Played, as a number 10. Nathan?
Are we doing Man City's team as well?
Yeah, you can say Man City's team, yeah.
Awesome.
Did Bernardo Silva score?
He did. He got a goal in the first half, yeah. Very good. Pete?
John Joe Shelby. Blake.
John Joe Shelby. You're saying all the ones I didn't expect it. Yeah, John Joe Shelby.
I'm just remembering. I remember the harrowing midfield. There's another one as
well. Mikey.
Haaland, obviously.
Yeah, Haaland. Very good. Nathan.
I'm going to say Scott McKenna alongside Worrell.
No, you've lost a life. No,
Lost
afraid
life.
not.
Okay.
No,
Who was
McKenna.
alongside him then?
How many lives have we got?
You're allowed to get 2 wrong each. Pete,
I'll
it's
go
your
for
go.
I think the other midfielder was Remo Freuler.
Correct. Very
Super dynamic trio.
good. Mikey.
Serge Aurier for a guess.
Yes, these are good answers. I thought I might trip you up with some of these. Yeah.
Christ.
Nathan.
Now I'm feeling the heat. Phil Foden for City.
Yeah. Very good.
Okay.
I need to write down the City ones. Foden.
It's your go, Pete. There's no time for writing.
No, I need to just make sure I don't say him again. I think, no, we haven't said Gibbs White, have we?
No, we've not said Gibbs White.
Sweet.
Mikey.
Brennan would have started. Brennan Johnson.
He played up top, I think, didn't he?
Yeah, Brennan played up top, yeah.
That was a mad team.
Nathan's go.
Oh, I thought Chris Wood was the other scorer in that game, in the 1-1. Have I got that wrong?
He was, but he came off the bench, so you've got to guess again.
Oh, Christ. De Bruyne?
Sound effects.
Oh, wow. This is intense.
Yeah, I know.
Sounds like the start of a Michael Jackson song.
I'll lock in De Bruyne then.
Yes, De Bruyne. Very good. You're alive.
I don't know if I want to be.
How many Forest have we got left? Is it 2 or 3, is it?
You've got one. Yeah, two Forest left.
Oh, somebody guessed McKenna, didn't they? So I think it was Felipe at the back.
Oh,
It was Felipe at the back.
Ah, that's
Very
poor
good.
for me.
oh, that's what I was going to say. I think I know the Forest left back, but I'm not going to risk it. So I'm going to go.
Yeah, I'm a bit
I'm going
scared.
to go for Kyle Walker because he would have played.
Yeah, Kyle Walker played. Very good. Nathan.
Mikey, did you say the City keeper?
I didn't know.
Okay, I thought you did. Edison?
Yeah, very good.
Oh, this is getting quite stressful now, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm scraping the barrel. I'm really scraping it.
I'm going to go for the last Forest one. I think it has to be Renan Loddy.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, Renan Loddy.
Oh,
That's
that's
the
a
Forest
very
team.
good
I think
shout.
Forest team exhausted. Let me check.
Oh no!
Yeah,
And
so
we've
you've
given-
only got City starters left now.
How many left?
I've got
2,
4 written down
3,
on my list that you guys have guessed.
4, 5. I think there's 6.
Oh, God.
Foden,
Okay.
Oh, no,
Foden,
5.
Walker,
There's 5 left. Apologies, 5.
Oh gosh, right, I'm missing some. Foden, Walker, De Bruyne, and Edison. Who else have we had?
Haaland. We've had him.
Haaland.
Yeah, someone said Haaland. Right, Nathan's go.
Of course it is. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Diaz?
Oh, good shout.
Yes, Ruben Diaz. Very good.
Oh,
Pete.
Oh yeah, Diaz.
That time it should be starting, surely.
Don't do it to me. I don't like it. It's before Gundogan left, isn't it? I'm going to say Gundogan.
Gundogan is correct.
Oh,
Very
no,
good.
that was
We're
my
really
one.
running out here. I think we've only got a couple left. Mikey.
I don't know. This is where I'm gonna guess, but I'm gonna go for John Stones.
No, that's one. That's wrong.
Oh,
Let me check if he
please
came on.
Okay.
No,
I'm gonna.
no.
I think I'm gonna risk it. We still got defenders, I think, so I'm gonna go with Nathan Ake.
Oh, I was gonna go for him.
He came on, so you've got to guess again.
I don't want to guess again. Midfielders. Can I have a clue? Because I'm on my last live.
Man City player.
I'll say ACL. I don't think anyone said it. This
Oh,
thing.
I was gonna say him. Yeah.
ACL.
Is that an injury clue?
It's an injury clue.
It's not his
I
initials.
don't know what else it could be.
If that was his initials.
Yeah.
Calvert-Lewin.
Anthony Calvert-Lewin.
I'm gonna have to pass. I'm sorry. I can't.
No, Nathan's out. We're down to 2 men standing.
Oh,
It's Pete's
I'm
go.
quite- yeah.
I think there's 3 players left.
There's quite a few big names I don't think we've said, but I'm not sure if they played or not.
yeah.
They're all
I
on the
think I know
bench
who-
apparently.
Is it the one
Pete, can you read out the Man City players that have been said? Because I should have written this down.
Well, I've got on my list Foden, Walker, De Bruyne, Edison, Haaland, Diaz, Gundogan, but I think we're missing. I'm not sure if I've got
Oh, I think I finally got one.
I
of them
think
out.
it's the one where Bernardo. Is it the one where Bernardo Silva played left backish?
Yes, it is.
Nathan said
So-
Bernardo Silva.
Oh, have
I
you?
did. I did.
Oh, well, he wasn't on my list. Right, I'm writing that down then. Oh, well,
I think
I
Rodri.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone said Rodri. Right. Mikey.
me.
I think there's only 2 left.
Oh my word.
I think Jack Grealish started.
Yeah. I think
Jack
he did.
Grealish, correct.
Yeah,
There's
he
one
did.
player
That's a
left.
good shout.
Otherwise, Mikey's going to win.
There's
If you
one
don't
left.
get it,
Wait a
Pete.
minute. I've got 2 lives yet. Give me a chance.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, you've got 2 lives. Yeah.
Grealish we've had. Oh no, I'm scared. I'm not even sure what position we're looking for. Mahrez.
Oh.
Mahrez. No.
Oh.
A new
like
sub.
that.
So it's 1 life left. You've got 1 life left, Pete. Mikey's got 1 life left.
Oh, I've had an idea.
Go on.
No, it's Mikey's going, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Mikey's go. Sorry.
So I think it's a central midfielder because I think they played Foden, Grealish, and Haaland, Rodri, and it's the other guy, and I can't think of him, and Gundogan, and then who was the other one?
You've got a different position in mind.
Oh dear. Oh God.
Oh, I've just
God.
seen who it is.
You just seen it.
I've Just seen who it is, yeah.
Oh, this is unbearable. Come on, we need to get on with it.
Come on, Mikey. I'm going to push you
It's
for a
unbearable.
name. We're going to time you out.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Joe Royal. No, I'm joking. I've got no idea.
Colin Bell.
Right. No, Mikey's out. Pete, if you can name him, you'll win. Otherwise, we'll just call it a draw after all.
Well, I've got a guess, and I think there's another centre back.
Go on.
I think it could be Laporte.
Is that your guess?
Oh no, I don't. No, because it could be someone else. You've stressed me out again now. I've already given right. Yes, I'm going with it. Yeah.
That's a magnificent guess. That is correct.
Oh, come on!
Yeah.
I'm Laporte was the one.
Well, today's
Fair
never going
play.
to get you better than that, is it? I peaked already.
You peaked already. Well done, Traps. Between you got the whole.
that was horrible.
I'm
every
quite
player who
impressed.
started.
Yeah, I didn't think we'd get anywhere near that. So
No, you
I
did
hated
very
that.
well.
stressful. It was really
countdown
stressful.
timer.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
I'll just tell you the players who came on, just for reference.
I think I got them all, didn't I?
Oral Mangala, Nathan Williams, Chris Wood, and Andre Ayew. Who could forget Andre Ayew? And then Nathan Ake and Julian Alvarez were the two who came on.
Oh yeah.
There you go. That was surprisingly tense. I quite
That
enjoyed
was really
that.
stressful, but strong.
Yeah.
It was good.
I need to lie down.
Right, I think that just about covers everything. So we'll just take our. I appreciate people's patience with ads, by the way. This NordVPN one won't be around forever, but we do have to give a word of gratitude, as ever, to Home Move estate agents. Thanks very much for their long-standing support. If you're looking to buy or sell in Notts, then do get in touch with Ben Sales, Ben at homemoveea.co.uk. Check out their website. The link is in the description, and they are 5-star rated on Google. Right, Mikey, anything you want to add before we depart?
Just a couple of things. That's all right. I hate losing. I'm going to be in a sulk now for the rest of the time. Just a couple of things, a couple of quick shout outs, and then I just want to plug something if that's okay. So shout out to a young lad called Trent from Northampton who's not been very well. His dad Mark's a big Forest fan, as is he. So I hope you get better soon, mate. And thanks for supporting the podcast. One more thing, Will from America and his dad, I think he's also called Will, coming over for their first game on Saturday, and will be at the Trent Nav with me, probably eating breakfast on the Saturday. So hopefully you've picked a good game to come over. So enjoy that safe journey and enjoy the game. And lastly, if anybody's free on the 4th of April, which is a Friday night, my mate's doing a speaking event with Steve Hodge. It's basically just interviewing Steve Hodge, basically. It's at Ravenshead Village Hall, just up the road from me. Tickets still available. It's only 15 quid. So if anybody fancies it, give us a shout on Twitter. Just drop me a message and I'll put you in touch with the guy who's organising it. But yeah, night with Steve Hodge. I think it's 25 quid to meet him as well. So if you're not doing anything that night, give us a shout. But yeah, good. Enjoyed today. It was an interesting podcast, this one, wasn't it? Everything from my technical issues through to that quiz, which has stressed me out at the end.
I thought it's been good. It's been fun. And well done for writing down your any other business. I like it. I like you presenting it that way. Pete, anything from you before we go?
I don't know. I can't remember. I might have had some stuff, but I've been through too much stress now. Everything's gone out the window. So sorry if I've forgotten anything, but yeah, let's fingers crossed for a win on Saturday. I'll leave it there.
No, it's good. I've got a few things to run through very quickly. Nathan, anything from you? Any plug for Copa Club that you want to give people?
Yeah, the Copa Club podcast is going to be making plenty more episodes because the Brazilian season is back at the end of this month, and also the South American World Cup qualifiers are back around the 20th of March. So look, we might see Murillo in action in a Brazil shirt, which would be very exciting. I know we need him on Trent's side, but it'd be interesting to see if he finally gets a debut for Brazil. So yeah, if you want to know anything more about Brazilian football, players, Murillo, the World Cup qualifiers, do tune in to future episodes.
Here, let me put you on the spot so people can get a flavour of what you do. Can you name one player currently in South America who you think is primed this summer for a big move to the Premier League? Not necessarily to Forest, but any player to watch that we should be looking out for.
That's a big question. I really like, there's a young lad, he's around 19, 20, he's called Breno Bidon, who plays centre midfield for Corinthians. we have a good relationship with Corinthians. He's a very technical, well-established player. They call him the suit in Brazil because of how sort of elegant he plays his football. Maybe a year away from potentially moving across, but I do really like him. And yeah, that relationship with Corinthians will probably get some Forest fans excited. But yeah, keep an eye out for him.
Very good. Very
No,
good.
I've just remembered I had a little bit of any other business. Can I do it?
Well, I'm afraid the window's closed. No, you can go on.
Permission, please. I was going to do. I can give Mikey another chance to redeem himself and go home a winner, because I had a couple of little quiz questions based on my prep for the show. They could just about a couple of stats. So I think last time out, the Spurs game, Haaland scored his 20th of the season, and he's only the second player in Premier League history to score 20 goals in his first 3 Premier League seasons. Do you know who the other one was?
Wow.
Shearer?
No. I mean, this is from Opta, by the way, so if it's wrong, just slag them off.
Thierry Henry?
Nope.
First 3 seasons. Andy Cole?
Nope.
Can we have a clue?
Yeah, I need a clue.
The last guess was the right club, or one of his clubs was the right club.
Newcastle. Oh, Man U.
Van Persie?
No. You
No.
got part of his name.
Van Nistelrooy?
Van Nistelrooy, that's the one.
Not Percy. Very good.
Well done.
Very good. Good.
That's
good
it, Mikey.
trivia.
So you can have a good day now.
Thanks,
There you go. You're a winner, Mikey. Oh.
Thank you.
Right. Just quickly, a few very quick things to know. Yanis Frentsos is no longer a director of the club. I see that was posted online today. I think that's probably to do with us being in Europe and Olympiacos being in Europe next season, but just something to mention. Shout out for Joe Gardner, who I know he got sent off in his first game at Lincoln. I didn't really mention it because, it's bad luck for a young lad out on loan. But I will mention that he scored his first goal for Lincoln on Tuesday, I think it was, in a 4-1 win. And a very good goal it was too. I think we've got a real talent on our hands there. So he is one to watch. And a quick word for Danscape's podcast predictions league as we go into the weekend. And I might only be mentioning this because we're top. I don't know how we've got 7.8 points. I don't know what that means, but, being top is nice. So, do follow Danscape on Twitter, and he posts the predictions league as we go along. Right. If you have enjoyed that, I'm just clicking on random buttons and making a right mess of this. If you've enjoyed that and think I'm remotely competent, do us a favor, hit like, hit subscribe. Do give us a lovely 5-star review on Spotify and Apple iTunes. We shall be back tomorrow with the opposition preview. That's already recorded. If you're a channel member, you will get that today, or you're on Patreon, you'll get that today. So do consider that. And then we'll have a post-match show on Saturday. Mikey, thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Nathan, I've wrote that player name down so I can buy him on Football Manager later. And if he's crap, then I'm coming for you on Twitter.
No.
So.
Cool. Thanks for that.
Always nice to end with a threat as we go. Pete, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. And just to say to anyone watching, please like and subscribe, regardless of whether you think Matt's competent, because I don't think we should be cutting down our likes and subscriptions just on that basis.
No, we won't get many. So, Nathan, thank you very much.
Yeah, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Good to have you with us. We'll have you back on before the end of the season, hopefully, and definitely in the summer, I'm sure. Talk some South American football. Right. Have a good day, everyone, and hopefully we shall see you tomorrow. But if not, we shall see you soon.